for 25. Before we get started, we have a couple announcements that I want to go through, and then we'll have you do a quick poll, and then we'll get started with our program. So, get to the announcements here. Okay, so this is from the Texas Master Gardener program. They wanted to invite everyone to this Junior Master Gardener Professional Development Training Conference. You can see the link on the screen if you're interested, and we can grab this and pull this in the chat as well. So there's some information. They sent a couple of slides in. This talks a little bit about what is going to be at the Junior Master Gardener National Conference that they're hosting in February of next year, 17th through 18th. And this is all online, so all of this is available. And again, you can see the link there, and we can pull that and put that in the chat for you, so you can go right in and sign up and attend that Junior Master Gardener training. And then we also have this announcement. We made this announcement at our last webinar as well, just a reminder that our 2026 National Extension Master Gardener Coordinator Conference is going to be in Chicago in August. And so as we have more information for that, we'll continue to share that in the webinars as well. And of course, if you get the Sprout newsletter, all of this information is in there. And then we are working on our presentations for 2026. We still have some openings. So if you have an idea for a webinar, or you're interested in presenting to a national audience, you have something that you'd like to share with the group, you can contact myself or Ashley. Both of us would be great. And we can go ahead and put you on the schedule for next year. All right. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get into our webinar. Today we have Rebecca Newburn with us from the Seed Library Network, co-founder of Richmond Grows and the Seed Lending Library. She's going to talk about building and sustaining seed libraries for Master Gardener volunteer programs. And I'm going to stop sharing. And as she gets herself ready, we're going to put a poll up quickly on the screen for you.
Okay. Are you ready for me to go? Or did you want to talk about those results first?
Nope. We'll send those out later. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Do you want to just start it, or you want me to do? Are you doing a little intro, or what's the process from here?
Yep, go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. I am so delighted to be here with you, the Extension Master Gardener coordinators, to share some of the exciting work that's happening with seed libraries and how Master Gardeners are playing a key role in making that possible. I'm Rebecca Newburn. I am the founder of the Seed Library Network, and I also co-founded the Richmond Grows Seed Lending Library. So that's how I got into all of this. And the one thing I hope that stays with you is that everything we do as gardeners traces back to seed. And by making seed stewardship the cornerstone in our Master Gardener programs, we empower gardeners to shape the future of our food system and biodiversity. So today I want to take you on a brief journey where seed libraries came from, why they pair so naturally with Master Gardener programs, and how this partnership can build more resilient food systems. So I'll highlight some of the resources and the tools that we have available in the Seed Library Network, Everything we offer is free, open source, and designed to be simple to adopt, adapt, and use. I'll share a few innovations we're seeing across the country and offer ideas for how you can support seed preservation, food security, and biodiversity in your own communities. And then we'll finish with a little Q&A. So to start, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about seed libraries, what they are, how they work. I know some of you already have seed libraries, but just so we're all kind of coming from the same kind of soil, and just a little bit about Richmond Grows and how the Seed Library Network came to be. Seed Library is a free community-based system that offers seeds, guides gardeners in how to grow and save them, and encourages people to return locally adapted seed. At its core, it strengthens the long-term resilience of our communities. A little bit about Richmond Grows. We started in 2010. I was inspired by the work of Basil, which is the Bay Area Seed Interchange Library, which is in Berkeley, California, in their ecology center. So they started in 2000. I was just like, I love this idea. Every community should be stewarding their own seeds like we've done for many, many generations before. And I wanted to create it as a replicable model so that any community could just, take the template and launch and then create it to fit their own needs. So as this started, I started to gather names of seed libraries. Within 6 months, the Richmond Grows was in New York Times. So the model spread quite quickly. And by 2023, we had 2,600 communities that had seed libraries that were open or in the process of opening. We were so excited how quickly things grew, but we did experience a little bit of growing pains along the way. So you may have heard about our legal challenges that we had. So spoiler alert, it is completely legal to share seeds in a seed library and seed swap, and there are no legal ramifications if something is mislabeled or has a low germination rate. To give you a little brief history, in 2014, a Pennsylvania library was told its seed library was considered a commercial seed distributor. With the support of the Sustainable Economies Law Center and the Seed Library Network spent the next 2 years working with state seed control officials and seed industry representatives to update the recommended uniform state seed law. So that's the recommendations that go out to all states about how can seeds be sold and transported across state lines. So the important thing to note is that we can continue to do what we've done in community for over 10,000 years, which is share seeds in our community. These are the things to know. The important thing about a seed library is that you can't require returns, but you can encourage them. That is the big piece. Once you start to require returns, you're getting yourself more into a contractual agreement, and that puts you into a gray zone. So just encourage, but don't require. Have a sign about local seed quality. I love what Talbot County has on that's Talbot County, Maryland, has on their seed brochure, which just says very simply, seed from the library may not meet germination or variety purity standards per Maryland seed law. We at Richmond Grows, having spent 2 years in conversation over this, we had a little bit more of a floral sign, but I kind of might go to where Talbot County went, which is ours says, many seeds shared by the seed library were grown grown by community members with love and care, like our ancestors have done for thousands of years. Please know they may not meet state germination or labeling standards. We do not knowingly accept or share any seeds that are chemically treated or patented or genetically modified. Once again, just having a simple informational post is the way to go. And if you have, within your signage, and also you can do this in your membership, you state this, including having the non-GMO and patented information on your packets and your membership. And then also just with packets, your packets should have the date that they were either donated or harvested, and that's just good, signage in particular for packages. And then all this information is available on our website. And if you want to learn more about the legal kind of history, that can be found at theselk.org. And so with these legal challenges and hurdles behind us, we were thrilled to return to what we do best, which is sharing seeds, resources, knowledge, and growing strong partnerships with groups like the Master Gardeners. So why is it such a perfect partnership? One of the things that I love between Master Gardeners and seed libraries is that we have this shared goals of education, conservation, and community engagement. And Master Gardeners, you are ideally equipped to assist communities by establishing seed libraries, whether it's in your local extension office or public library, because you have so many resources available to you and all of this kind of backing of, scientific knowledge and information that's at your disposition. The seed libraries do more than just support local growers. They strengthen food access, they build community resilience, and advance priorities like reducing hunger. They also contribute to broader UN Sustainable Development Goals of good health and well-being, climate adaptation. One of the things that we're looking at when we're getting local seeds is having seeds adapting to our local climate. We're also at this moment in the seed library kind of journey looking at more diverse mixes and how that can also help us to accelerate adaptation to climate to adapt to extreme weather conditions. And then life on land is another UN goal that can be met through seed libraries by offering native plants through our collections. And then this work is definitely strengthened by the partnerships we build in our community. For those of you who have not started a seed library, I want to kind of go over some of the resources and tools we have on our website. We have a very comprehensive how to start a seed library resource on our website. Once you get launched, and with the how to start a seed library, within that we have the general instructions as well as specialty libraries. For example, I'm a middle school science teacher. We have information about how to start one in a school. There's a number of academic libraries at universities. There's native libraries, there's herbal, and there's even dye plant libraries. So there's some additional information if you're interested in maybe hosting a particular type of seed library, or if you just want to expand your seed library to have a drawer around herbal medicines or around natives. And then once you get started and you open, where do you go from there? So we have resources on how to maintain your seed library, from cleaning your collection to ways to engage the community. And one of the reasons why we've been able to offer such a robust collection of resources is due to the generosity of our community. And you will notice at the bottom of a number of our web pages, you'll see these two icons, the community tips and resources button and the add your resources. And from there, you can go and if you as a Master Gardener program have resources that you've already developed that you would like to share with others, you can add it to the add resources. That way we're not all reinventing the wheel. And then you can also explore some of the community tips and resources that people have posted. And I want to mention about the map. If you have a library that's open or you want to see who's local to your area, you can go to our map. We have an explore the map, so you can just see who's out there, or you can go to the bit.ly.
You see, he gave you a little bit of love right there, guys.
I'm feeling the love. Okay. And then, so you can go to the map and you can also click on and add yourself to the map, but you can also explore and see who else is in your neighborhood, who's in your region, bioregion, and then you can also see what other communities are hosted by Master Gardeners. And then lastly, I want to say one of the things I love about the generosity of the community is sometimes we find new and innovative resources. And one of the exciting things we discovered, a little drum roll, woo, is, oh my gosh, this is a game changer, is the auto seed wrapper. This is amazing. This was developed by a man in Wisconsin, Braden Richland, and it's a spreadsheet. We kind of took what he had developed and we added to it. Basically, it's a spreadsheet we have put on 70 common species, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. We put on the common name, the scientific name, the planting instructions, and the seed saving instructions. And what you would do is if you're interested in using this, you can just make a copy and then you add in your varieties. For example, Round Valley Covelo, we've got that's the name of the variety. We put in that it's a rare heirloom from a particular community in California. And then you can print it out in all of these different formats. And these do print on Avery labels, but we are a low budget, high impact organization in Richmond Grove. So we do everything on paper. So we have the larger volume, the larger one here that you can kind of see everything. We've got these, this is another version that you can see that has the same information, but just kind of condensed. And then we have two kind of smaller ones. And this is the ones kind of on the screen here. You can see one that is more focused on the varietal information. And then this one here is more focused on planting instructions. Some of the things that are nice about this format that you could use if this is something that interests you is you can brand it. So we have, for example, here at the bottom, richmondgrowsseeds.org, our website. This one here, we have our logo, or you can even put an image showing the plant on the label. One of the things we also have done was we have done some with QR codes. One of the seeds that we found that we have in our collection is from one of my neighbors. It's Jeanette's Love in the Mist, and it's from my neighbor's grandmother. And every time she moved, this plant just would show up in her pots. And now that she has her own house, Jeanette's Love in the Mist shows up in her garden every year. And while we do have, the notes about the plant, people can also go on the bottom of that particular label, click the QR code, and I have a voice recording of my neighbor Erica talking about the plant and her relationship to her grandmother. So when people take that seed, there's more of a connection to it and more of an interest in sharing not only the seed, but the story that goes with it. So having well-labeled seeds supports gardeners to grow, but also save and donate seeds. Now, borrowing and donating seeds are kind of two of the coins that we're always working with and balancing in our seed libraries. It's very easy to get people to borrow seeds. The donating piece is one of the pieces where I think master gardeners can really bring seed libraries to life in our community. And one of the master gardeners who did that was Hilly Sallow. She started Silicon Valley Grows, and she came up with this idea of the one seed, one community. And this is based on that concept of the one book, one community, where you all read a book together from the library, and you talk about it and have a conversation and come together around an idea. And this one seed, one community is where we all grow one seed, and from seed to seed. Hilly, when she developed this program, she created 5 emails, and those emails are all downloadable on our One Seed One Community page where this is linked. This would be a great thing that you could just have at when you do a tabling. You're out in a farmer's market and you pick a particular seed that you want to share out, and people can borrow them, and you get their email, and then you can walk them through the journey from seed to seed, pest management, and then harvesting, and maybe a great recipe. We did one in our community. We have this one here. We found 2 wonderful local varieties that were stewarded from different Italian families, and we wanted to be able to offer more of these. So we ask people to do a grow out program. So this is another way you could do that, is ask people to particularly share, to grow something out for the benefit of the community. And then you can even use that later on for the One Seed One Community. So what's a grow a row program? It's, like I said, you're asking someone to grow something specific for the benefit of the community, to share some of that back to the seed library. One of the master gardeners I spoke with before this presentation said, what she was thinking about doing in her county was having master gardeners grow a row in their home and counting that towards volunteer hours. Obviously, giving them specifications about how many plants, what's the population size, isolation distances, or anything else they might need in order to return quality seeds. Another way that this could happen is you could do grow rows in your demonstration gardens and have the master gardeners save some of that seed in the demonstration gardens to supply with seed libraries. And if you're interested in learning more about donation processes, I will be offering a class at the American Library Association Sustainable Roundtable. It's going to be an online class on February 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or basically the same time as this is. So if you register for our newsletter, or then at the end, I'll show you how to do that. You would get notification of that. And another way to really kind of engage people with seed saving is through the seed swaps. I know that many master gardeners participate in the January seed swap day. I hope you take a moment to look at the seed swap toolkit. Once again, you can go to our seed swap page and it has all these resources, everything from how to organize it. We also have a number of really helpful things because people who have never been to a swap, or even if they have, don't necessarily understand things like, envelope requirements. Like, what are you asking people to put on their envelope? So this is a downloadable, printable. All of these are available as PDFs, and you can also go in to Canva and rebrand them or make them whatever you need to. Another thing is about quantities. So these are also goes in the table signs that you might want to download, encouraging people to take appropriate quantities. So take only what you plan on growing, 2 to 3 seeds per large plant, and a pinch of smaller seeds. In those offerings, we also have a seed swap participants guide. People that have never been to a seed swap, this is a great way for them to understand what to expect. If they're planning on bringing seeds, how do you want them labeled? Do you want them individually packaged, or is it okay if they put them in a jar? What are kind of the expectations around etiquette about borrowing seeds? For example, things like envelopes, so that they have this kind of a pre-understanding of what it means to be a participant in a seed swap. And seed swaps are a great way to connect with local gardeners as well as seed savers. So that might be your time to also see who's bringing and sharing seeds and having a conversation and seeing if they can share some of that excess seed through your seed library. Now, one of the things that happens in seed swaps is that we know that the people in our community have a wide variety of understanding about about seed saving. And that's why this Embrace Diversity poster is a great sign that we would encourage people to use. We have kind of put it into 3 general categories. Very likely as labeled. These are the self-pollinated things like common beans, peas, possibly diverse, things that if you plant more than one variety, for example, fava beans, they would possibly cross. Or 3, these are really hard to save without kind of some expert knowledge, such as corn, squash, melons. Not to say the squash can't be done, it's just that people need to know how to hand pollinate properly in order to guarantee that those seeds are as labeled. For example, I've been to a seed swap, really excited. I got sunflowers. I was getting into into natural dyes. I planted this whole bed of sunflowers, expecting to dye some clothing the next season, and zero dye property. And if I had seen the sign of Embrace Diversity, I would have seen that sunflowers are down here in this very likely diverse category. And I might have made a different decision. A lot of people they just want to squash and they don't really care. But the important thing that we want to be able to offer is that people have the knowledge to make informed choices. One of the things that we have done recently is we've created this diverse mix stamp. Oopsie, it's upside down. Diverse mix stamp. So we will stamp it on things at swaps as well as in our collection. So people know, oh, I'm getting, some type of brassica, I'm getting kale, but I can't really guarantee that this kale is the dino kale that was the mother plant. And so that's something to kind of consider when you're doing your swaps. And this is also a great sign to help you navigate what's in your seed library and your labeling requirements for your seed library. And to kind of really help kind of move the conversation forward, having education as a cornerstone is going to be super important. And that's to get quality seeds, it's to get seeds returned. And there's a number of resources that we offer at the seed library. We do have kind of take a seed library class. We have just a page around things that we have offered at previous conferences, as well as a number of other seed savers that we have a lot of respect for. For example, Rowan White, who was the chairman of the board for Seed Savers Exchange, who's a Mohawk woman who really brings a lot of her traditional wisdom into her seed saving class. Bill McDormand's class is on our Take a Seed Saving class. He was my seed teacher, expert seedsman. And then if you are interested in teaching and you're at that point where you're like, we're ready to start offering seed saving classes in our community, we have a teach section and we have the seed saving and community class that was created. This is a class that's been approved as a Master Gardener class for where we live. Once again, it would be, this is something you could just take, as is, or just all of the pictures in there were taken by myself or my colleague, Julia Dakin. So you don't have to worry about any copyright infringements. And then within our teach part of our website, we also have the download the train the trainer manual from Organic Seed Alliance. So they were really generous in sharing that with us. So if you want to kind of upskill your seed saving offerings, you might want to look at their stuff. And then with the kind of educating the community, more public facing, we also have a number of these downloadable 8.5 by 11 posters. For example, oh, it's time to save tomatoes. And you can just kind of print this out and put that in your seed library so people have a visual of, oh, that's how you save tomatoes. Oh, fermentation, never knew that was a thing. And all of those, as I said, they're downloadable on our seed returns page, and you can also customize those if you go to the Canva link on them. Now, on our seed saving and community class, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about that because I'm hoping that more and more Master Gardeners are offering seed saving as part of their public offerings. So our seed saving and community class kind of follows the structure of choose your own adventure, and you can engage in it in whichever level fits your interests and goals. So I just kind of want to encourage you to explore the resources that resonate with you. The first one, which I think is just an absolute must for every master gardener and person who's interested in seed saving, is the seed garden. So this focuses on preserving heirlooms of the past. And why I say heirlooms of the past is because Carol Deppy's book, and this has, oh my gosh, this has everything from the seed cleaning screens to viability to population sizes. It is a master class in seed saving, just an absolute must-have resource, and it's a coffee table quality, beautiful book as well. So, and then if you're interested in more developing heirlooms of the future, this book by Carol Deppy, who has a PhD in genetics from Harvard. This is brilliant in terms of you are interested in like, what can I offer for future generations? This is highly recommended. And then the last one I would suggest if you're interested in exploring is Joseph Lofthouse. He has this approach to working with genetically diverse land races. These are things that have more less uniformity in them that have developed to the particular lands and cultural preferences of a people. And he's really looking at how do we create these modern land races that are more genetic mixes and using that to help us to adapt to changing conditions while selecting for things like flavor and other value traits. So this is really interesting. If you're interested in learning more about this, I would recommend to going to seed.org, and I'll send a bunch of resources at the end as well. So going to seed.org, and they have a free class around this that's really super interesting. And then during this whole kind of process of kind of getting ready for this presentation, I did talk with a number of master gardeners, and some of the notes from the field that I took was just about how many of them were really excited to start and maintain seed libraries in their community. And with the maintaining, one of the things that came up was how seed libraries helped a number of master gardeners who needed more flexible hours. So they were really interested in offering seeds, but teaching a class wasn't necessarily where their strong point, or it was a little bit harder for them to be able to show up at a desk at a particular time. But being involved in a seed library allowed that flexibility to, I can go to the seed library and check on seed stock or refresh pamphlets at my own time. So kind of having that flexibility was nice. Another thing about seed libraries, in terms of that engagement piece that master gardeners are committed to, one thing that many seed libraries do is they do packing parties and they do individual packets of seeds. And so that's a way to kind of bring people together and create some community engagement. And I love what on the right, you see the picture of Marie. So she's from the county where I work. Marie is a rock star. She has opened 13 seed libraries in the last 2 years in Marin County in California. And the most recent one that came online was a native seed library in their demonstration garden. So they have all these natives, and people are seeing these beautiful natives walking through there, and they're saving the seeds. And they're like, why don't we just put our seed library right here so people can see the plants and then come back later at a later time in the season, and then they can actually get those seeds to take home for their garden. So I love that kind of full cycle thinking there. And then I talked with some people from Carroll County, Maryland, and they have an heirloom tomato festival. And I know a lot of master gardeners offer tomato festivals, and I love the fact that they had it focused on heirlooms. And they even found some tomato heirlooms that were had stories that were related to people in their community. So there had that extra kind of added value there. And we do have a page on our website about tomato festival. So if you want to see some of the pictures from the tomato heirloom, so the tomato festival from Carroll County or the Napa County one that is hosted, there's some really great ideas there. And I just want kind of to just imagine, I mean, seed is so foundational to everything that we just like our food, our ecosystems. And I want just to kind of invite you to think about like what would it look like if Master Gardener programs incorporated seeds more intentionally into their education, outreach, and community projects? What are you already doing, and how can other Master Gardeners programs learn from you? So I feel like sometimes you know, it's, access to prepared classes. It takes so much time, as anyone who's made a class and offered it to the community can tell. And you've got that whole process of then getting it vetted and preparing and presenting and polishing. That takes so much work that what would it be like if you folks figured out a way in which you could host, here are 5 solid seed saving classes that can be offered in the community. So instead of starting from scratch, you have a selection, and you could take it and I mean, you can use ours, of course, but if you already have them out in your community, like why not take what's there and share amongst each other and build upon the wisdom that's already in your community? The same would go for seed saving brochures. People have them made. How can you create a collective resource so you can see vetted classes that can be borrowed and then kind of repurposed for your community? Another thing that I would suggest is looking at how can you put seed as more of a foundational part of your basic training. I know where I am in the community where I'm at, we have a Richmond Grows is actually a Master Gardener program. I'm not a Master Gardener myself, but most of our volunteers are. And they said they had less than 30 minutes of conversation around seed, and it wasn't about seed saving. And so, how can that become more of a foundational part of your training? What would that look like? And then what does continuing education look like around seed and seed saving? I know I've talked with some of the master gardeners I talked with said, oh, well, we can go on and find stuff and they approve it. And how can this be more intentional? There are so many wonderful resources out there. I said the Going to Seed thing, Organic Seed Alliance has a ton of resources that if you could, Seed Savers Exchange. So having some identified resources that people could use, and that it's not just by county, but like, can you think on a state level or a national level? Here are some things that we would recommend so that it's easy for people to get that additional training, and then they're going to be more comfortable then going out in the community and teaching the classes. Some Master Gardener programs also have seed saving or like guilds around roses or other particular interests. For example, we have one where we are around food, but do you want to have one that's specifically seed saving? Or if you've got a food guild, how do you embed more seed saving into that guild conversation? Other people said that within their program they have advanced certification. What would an advanced certification for seed saving look like? And I would be happy to kind of talk with people around that. I know I've talked with the Organic Seed Alliance. They have a number of resources that they said that they would be willing to support and helping to make that happen. And I would be willing to help kind of connect those points. And then partnerships to expand and outreach. I love this this little picture on the side here, the collared from the University of Maryland Extension and Ujama Cooperative Farming Alliance. So just like thinking about like partnerships, this is something that was grown locally in Maryland and shared, has a story, and it just really builds that kind of connection, and it also expands your outreach. And while I'm speaking of outreach and just connections and partnership, I really want to just give a shout out to John Traunfeld, the Home and Garden Information Center Director in Maryland. He reached out to me a couple of years and we've been in conversation and ever since. And I just really appreciate his visionary leadership, having people who kind of really have a vision about where they're going can really bring a whole community together. So I just want to just give him a shout out and a big thank you. And then lastly, branching out, like engaging in schools and growing, saving seeds. As I said, I'm a middle school science teacher. We do a ton of seed saving in our school garden, and it goes into our own school seed library, but it also goes into the public libraries, demonstration gardens with seed saving signs. So if you've got that grow a row or you've got seeds, things going to seed, having some signage. So it's not just like, what is that weedy thing that's going on this beautiful master gardener, but it's like, oh, that's lettuce. I didn't know lettuce had seeds. So people need to see that in order to start making the connections. And the more times they see that, the more likely they are to be like, oh, I can just let my lettuce bolt and then I know what the seeds look like and I can do this myself. I think also master gardeners are perfectly positioned to host seed cleaning equipment. It's a lot of work to save, it's a time commitment to save seeds. And then at the end, you've got to then process it. So whether you have a stack of seed screens that are available in the extension office, some of the local seed libraries by us, one of them, they have a seed cleaning party. If you go to this link, the seed cleaning equipment, you can see the garage of all the seed cleaning equipment that they have in there. And the man who made all of it, he was very generous and he made us the seed zag cleaning device. So I just want to show it to you because it's so amazing. And then we look at that. I mean, all that chaff. Oh my gosh, that is just such a time saver. And then I want to talk a little bit just about community science. And I'd be happy to talk more about community science later in the question and answer. But basically, Seed Savers Exchange has a seed trialing program. So this might be something the master gardeners are interested in doing something similar. Once again, happy to make the connections with the Seed Savers Exchange folks who do this. But they, offer, here's 3 varieties of lettuce, trial them out, how do they do well? And then you're collecting data and you can get people engaged in gardening. And then the seed saving isn't necessarily a part of this, but you could add that in as an add-on. Community breeding can be done. We've been doing a number of community breeding projects in Richmond Grows along with the Going to Seed people. And we've been using these genetically diverse mixes. So there's lots of interesting ways to kind of engage with community science in Master Gardener programs. And then kind of just lastly, before I move into questions and answers, I'd like to share a few resources that can support your work going forward. First off, we've got the seedlibrarynetwork.org that has all the resources that I spoke about today. We have, if you need to contact me, I'm at hello@seedlibrarynetwork.org. If you're interested in kind of keeping up on latest developments in the seed library world, including like upcoming classes, like I mentioned, we are going to do that. I'm going to do that one on donations. And then we're also going to have our upcoming new to seed libraries seminar summit. That's going to be, I believe it's going to be Valentine's Day. That's our tentative date right now. So if you sign up for seedlibrarynetwork.substack.com, you would get informed about that. And then we are at Instagram at Seed Libraries, and then we have a LinkedIn account. So it has been a real pleasure to be here with you today, and I am encouraged by the possibilities we have to strengthen seed library stewardship within Master Gardener programs, and I am happy to take questions at this point.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was awesome. I have lots of questions and ideas now as someone just starting a seed library. And I just wanted to mention, I did write in the chat, don't worry about writing all this stuff down. We'll get everything from Rebecca and when we email out the link to the recording, Ashley and I will include all of the links and everything in there so that everyone will have all the information they need.
Great. And do you see any particular questions, or I can
So yeah,
stop?
you're welcome to type into the chat if you have a question, or you can unmute as well. Let me just check the chat and see if we have anything. Yeah, a lot of people commenting on liking the seed cleaning machine and how interested they are in this. There was a question about sharing the recording link with their Master Gardener volunteers, and yes, we post these on our YouTube channel, so they're open to anybody. You can definitely share those out.
And just so you know about the seed cleaning equipment, it was the plans are on that seed cleaning link that we will share with you. If you have someone who's capable of building it, it was about $150 in materials. We just got it built 2 weeks ago, so hence the reason I'm so excited. It's like, what? So yeah, it was $150, and then I was able to get a free shop vac off of like a buy nothing group. But it's going to be such a time saver. Yeah.
That's cool.
And we have
Master
it we have
Gardeners
it
like to
stationed
help.
we have it stationed at a farm so that any one of the 55 plus, oh, I was telling you this before, but we have between the county I live in and the county next to us where the Berkeley Ecology Center, the first seed library is, there's 55 seed libraries in our community.
Okay, since that, we've got a couple questions come in.
Mhm.
There's a question about, other than actual libraries, where would be a good location to have a seed library?
Great question. If you go to the map, also we have 16 different icons for places where they are located. So when you actually fill in the map, it will also, but if you're just thinking about getting started, you're probably not there. But there are places, for example, some are in stores, some are like the Berkeley Ecology Center one is in an ecology center. We're in a public school. I mean, that is a library, but it isn't in a non, some are in food pantries, some are in churches or other community centers. So I think there's a wide variety. I think it's just limited by your imagination about where they could go. Because sometimes there's a number that are just, for example, I have one outside of my house, just in front, just like a little book library. There's a number that are at farms. There are some that are at like nature centers. For example, you go out into a nature center, and then those ones might be more specifically focused on natives, though.
Perfect. Yeah, we have one at our extension office. That's also a good place. The plus side about having them at an extension office too is if the people come in and they have questions, if you have a plant clinic, that's staffed by Master Gardener volunteers, they can talk to someone about growing or maybe get some information on starting seeds.
Mhm.
So you kind of get that connection there too.
Oh, and it's funny to finish that last one. We are no longer in the library. Our library is getting renovated for 2 years. We are now in the rec center. So we're in the recreational center, and it's a completely different audience of people. And that's been a great fit for us because these are people that care about health and wellness, and it's allowing us to outreach to a completely different group of people. And we got situated right outside of the tool lending library, which people did not know. Many people weren't aware that there was a tool lending library. So people that knew that we were about us that kind of came to the new location all of a sudden discovered a new resource as well.
That's awesome. Okay, hold on. We're getting some more questions. Is the zigzag cleaner for a particular type of seed?
I'm fairly new to it because I'm only for 2 weeks and it's not even at my house. It's at someplace else. It does a lot of things, like it's cleaning out the chaff. I don't know where the limits are because I haven't done it, but what I processed the other day was I processed lettuce seed. I have sorghum. Oh my gosh, I would just want to talk about sorghum for a second. Sorghum is my new favorite plant. This is from 3 plants. This is from 3 plants. So much grain, and you also get to eat the stalk. And so I mean that one didn't need that much cleaning because whatever. But I did sorghum, lettuce, I did cosmos, I did garlic chives, which are just impossible to get clean, and they were significantly cleaner. I just did a whole bunch of flower seeds and basil. Oh my gosh, basil. that was a game changer because if you've ever processed basil, it's just so hard to clean. And it was amazing how much we got out of it. And just, yeah, it was a jar this big. No, 2 jars this big. And we were able to clean it and then it became, several, like that much on the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, we have time for a few more. There's a
Mhm.
couple questions about sharing commercially available seeds. So one question is, I know of libraries that stock the leftovers from purchased seed packets. Is that okay? And then is there a legality if the stores are donating like seeds instead of throwing them away?
No, so the legality is from the seed companies where they can't sell them once they get a date stamp. And just so you know, a lot of the locally grown seed is going to be more viable than the commercials. It can be more viable than the commercial seed because the many seed companies will keep their seeds just in some type of container and test for germination every year. And there's a certain minimum germination requirement. And so the seed might be 2 or 3 years old by the time they put it actually in a packet. But once they put it in a packet and date stamp it, it has to be sold that year. And so they can't sell it past the date. So it's fine to donate it. We do have a resource on our website that is a viability kind of chart that tells you, oh, this seed tends to be good for about this many years. So you know if it's good. Like the only seeds that I would really be more mindful about sharing out that are commercially donated would be the allium. So, for example, leeks and onion seeds, the viability can go down to like 50% in 1 year. So those people may not be as successful with even fairly new seed that's from that family. But there's no legal issue with you sharing out the seed from a commercial. Yeah, as long as you're not selling it, you're fine.
Okay, and I think this is the last question. It's about location. So is keeping seed libraries outside a concern for Northeast where we have hot summers and cold winter?
That is a good question. I would say the main thing with seed and seed viability is you want to keep your seed, and probably to that question is cool, dry, and dark. And I'm not exactly sure, and this might be something I could also follow up on, which is I don't know what type of time frame it takes to really decrease the viability. I know that for me, with like I have my seed library outside, I take it in during the winter time because we have a really just rainy, well, it's kind of dry right now, but it can be very damp winter here. So I don't put things, first up, tend to put things in seed libraries outside we have all of our collection in jars, but I tend to do everything even out there in jars. But you might want to be more interested in putting, desiccant packets in. And if you want to follow up with me, there is someone I'm looking at in terms of you can make them yourself, but it's those indicators, the color indicators about moisture, because it's really the moisture that's a bigger killer than heat. And so there's the moisture indicators that change, from pink to blue and all that stuff, depending on the level of moisture. And so we're thinking about figuring out a way to educate people about how to make them, and so they can put them inside of the jars. And so if you have a jar that's outside, you would be able to see, oh, the moisture level is too high. We need to kind of change the desiccant in there to kind of make sure that it's staying dry. The heat, if it's super hot, I definitely know people that have their seed libraries and when it's, above a certain degrees, like above 90 something, they will take them in for the day and they just put on their social media, closed for the heat, or they might even have a sign that just goes out closed for the heat. We'll put it back out next week.
Perfect. Yeah, I had just someone while you were saying that said desiccant packs they put in their seed library in a humid shed. So that
Mhm.
would work too. And then we had one comment too that this sounds really fun. It's always nice to think of something unique. And Kate mentioned that they did a seed gumball dispenser
Oh, yeah.
and that those were pretty fun. I would love to see photos of that. That would be really cool to try.
Yeah, and just I think that that's the thing I really hope that this conversation can inspire is more of these connections, just like Kate just shared about the gumball machine. I was like, there's so many wonderful things that you people are doing, and it's like, how do we continue to have that conversation? Before we had started the presentation, I was mentioning that New York, Cornell is offering some resources around seed libraries to have a conversation. I know Arizona has had some seed library specific, seminars that they've offered, as well as thinking about putting together their own state seed library map. So just figuring out like how do we continue to have these conversations to share best practices and inspiration would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, I think it would be a really nice follow-up to this webinar. Maybe this could be an option for next year, is people like Kate that have a gumball dispenser, or anyone that has some unique and different ways that they've been able to successfully start a seed library or have people be interested in it. Maybe we could have a presentation on just like sharing what we've done, what works, what doesn't work. That's always super helpful. So
Yeah.
that is awesome.
Yeah. And also just like what are ways that people are doing these more regional collections, and some of the things that are happening in terms of like regional kind of hubs. What'll happen is you'll see that someone will have a hub, and then people around that original seed library will kind of continue to grow and grow. And so how do you kind of support that? I mean, there's a group up in Rhode Island. It's called Grow Rhode Island Natives, and they have, I think, 14 seed libraries in their network, and it's all natives. So just like thinking about how can you kind of support each other in those great ideas.
That is awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think we'll probably have a lot more questions, and I'll get with you on getting the resources so we have all the links for everybody. And we may need to revisit this again. So I appreciate it. So we just have a couple just final slides, just reminder things before everybody runs off. We have a few minutes here. Ashley and I did want to remind you that you can register now for the 2026 coordinator webinars. I put the QR code on the screen. We're still filling in again. So if you have a topic you want to present on or an idea, please send that over to Ashley and I. Maybe you're inspired by something today and you want to share what you've done in your seed library, and that would be a great presentation. And then just a reminder that all this recording and others will be on our YouTube channel, and I will email out that the link for today once we get it uploaded. I'll email that with all the stuff from Rebecca as well. And then make sure you are subscribed to Sprout newsletter from the Extension Master Gardeners. It will have any relevant announcements, webinars coming up, all the links. If you forget how to register, it'll all be in that Sprout that comes up, and you can just go to the link on the screen or scan the QR code to sign up for Sprout. And then finally, just wanted to let everybody know that our next webinar, that won't be till February. So that'll be in February, and it will be on writing impacts. So that will be very useful to all of us. And again, if you have any other questions or comments on the webinars, let Ashley and I know. But thank you all so much for joining, and I hope everybody has a great holiday season and can take some time off and maybe plant some seeds. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.